Auburn's biggest win in the 2023 season, I'm predicting it'll be against the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up on a Friday. Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio vet, hanging out with us. And the way we're treating this show is this is the last show of the offseason. On Monday, we start game week stuff because game week will be here. And so we are emptying the notebook regarding our projections for this season. Individual stat leaders, our final projections of wins and losses for the 2023 season for the Auburn Tigers. But first things first, let's project the biggest wins. Darrell and I will both share our three biggest wins. And we'll start with, I think, Arkansas. I think going on the road to Fayetteville against an Arkansas team that I believe has been overhyped a little bit because KJ Jefferson is, I guess right now we have to say he's the best quarterback in the SEC. He's picking up all the preseason accolades. And I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve that, Darrell, but I think once you get past him and Rocket Sanders, I think Auburn is going to be able to go to Fayetteville and win. And I think that's going to be a huge win, arguably the biggest win for the Auburn Tigers this upcoming season.
It's a great one. And especially that it's on the road. I think that you give plus points for that. Anytime you get a big win on the road, I think that it's even more impactful and it's even a bigger win than holding court at home. And you're right about the Arkansas thing. I mean, SEC Media Days, we had a lot of conversations with fellow Arkansas writers and podcasters, and there's this perception that it's just an automatic given that they're going to have a great year and that they have the best quarterback in the league, and almost in a weird way that Auburn's looking up at Arkansas. And so I don't know. I mean, you look at Pittman, he had that 1 year we won 9 games, but after that, they've been pretty average, had a really bad year with 3 wins, then won 6 or 7 1 year. So whether they're trajecting upwards or whatever it is, I like that choice. I just didn't think, I don't know, I guess I'm used to in the last decade winning at Arkansas and beating Arkansas. So it's not a big win for me yet. It doesn't feel big. But I get why you're saying it's big because of being on the road. And I'm not trying to be snotty or snooty or like other fan bases that we have to deal with every day and act like we're more important than we are. But I don't know. There's other games that I'm going out on a limb and predicting some upsets that I think so if I'm saying they're going to win, these will end up being really big if they pull it off.
Yeah, I just think, from a talent standpoint, I don't think Arkansas from top to bottom is more talented than Auburn. I think they've got, a more proven quarterback, and I think they've got a more proven running back. But if you told me at the end of this year Peyton Thorne was more decorated and accomplished than KJ, and Jarquez Hunter and the stable of running backs at Auburn were more productive than Arkansas's rushing attack from the running back room, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all. And I think also, Hugh Freeze clearly isn't afraid of Arkansas. He beat him last year when he was at Liberty as well. So that's what I'm projecting to be the biggest win of Auburn's season. Darrell, what's the biggest win in your mind if you had to guess what's coming up this year?
I'm going to go on a limb, predict the upset in Jordan-Hare, and say that Auburn upsets Alabama. And if that happens, that's the biggest win of the year.
Incredible.
It is. And because of what you just said is why I don't think, and I'm pushing back a little bit, is why I don't think Arkansas is a big win, because the rosters are similar and it's like Auburn very easy. We feel like we wouldn't be shocked, right, if Auburn won that game. There would be some people, including Auburn fans, that would still be fairly shocked if Auburn won the game in Jordan-Hare in the Iron Bowl in Hugh Freeze's first year. That happens, and I'm just going to go on a limb and say I could see that big upset happening. It happens every year. College football, weird things happen in Jordan-Hare. Do I think Alabama's a better team than Auburn? Yes. Do I think that Auburn's going to be looking up at Alabama in the standings? Yes. For all the people that watch this show that want to come at me hard about that. But it just takes one game. Just takes one upset. And a very ordinary Brian Harsin-led team 2 years ago with a generational quarterback at the helm at Alabama with one play, stay in bounds, and Auburn wins that game. I think Hugh Freeze is a better coach. I think Alabama doesn't have as good a quarterback as Bryce Young. Their defense may be saltier. So who knows what could happen? It's not the unthinkable. And so that would be the biggest win of the year for me, obviously, because of who it is and probably Alabama being a top 5 team when they met.
Yeah, I obviously don't have Auburn beating Alabama, or that would be the biggest win on my list too. The second biggest win I think will happen for the Auburn Tigers is at Cal, week 2. And I believe, Darrell, this is one of yours as well. I think it's got the opportunity to set the stage for what this season could potentially be. It's also the first time we're going to see all of these new transfers in action, where they're going up against folks that are as athletic and as competitive as them. No offense to UMass, but I just think that's going to be an aspect of it. It's also going to be kind of, I don't know, all the stuff that's happening off the field, the travel, the late kick. It's going to be a lot of things that are a little unusual for this team. And I think if you can go out and get that, I think it's a big, big hurdle, because obviously you get Cal next year at home.
I agree, and I have Cal as a biggest win, another big win of the season, and here's why. I've said all along that for Auburn to get to where I think they're going to get, which we'll reveal later as far as final record, they have to win all of their non-conference games, and that includes Cal. So just from a pure record standpoint, if you want to get to the demarcation line of where I think would be considered a successful season, at least a winning season, I think you beat Cal. You have to beat Cal to do that. You have to win all of your 4 non-conference games. Then from a psychological trajectory, how is the season going to turn out viewpoint, it's also big. Because if you go on the road in week 2 against a Pac-4 opponent, and that's what they are, the Pac-4, and get beat, it could completely change the trajectory of your program, I think, from a self-doubt standpoint. Sure, you can bounce back, and I'm sure they will. But I think it changes the course of the season if you go into the Texas A&M game 2-1 instead of 3-0. And that's when things start to get different with belief system and psychologically and how the season is going to trend. So that's why I think winning that game is big. And I think it'll be big when Auburn comes away with that W on the road, obviously on the West Coast, kicking off really, really late. And so I think that for a national TV audience, I think that could, kind of propel Auburn forward a little bit.
Yep. No, we're on the same page there for sure. My third biggest win, Darrell, if we had to project it out, is Auburn hosting Mississippi State. I think you're going to see a very different Mississippi State team as you have in the last few years, obviously with the passing of Mike Leach, and we'll certainly see one last year with Rodgers at the helm, behind center, throwing the ball around. But I just don't. There's some folks that believe in them, but I think there's a real chance this is a battle for, is Auburn going to finish 5th or 6th in the SEC West? And I think Auburn's going to have a lot of value with this. Obviously, Hugh Freeze with his Mississippi ties. I think this is going to be one of the more winnable games at home that's in conference. And I think it's important. I think it's important that you take care of those. And this is a game where Auburn has been, okay, they should win this game. And then they slip up and blow a 28-3 lead or something like that. I think when you beat Mississippi State later this year, it kind of allows this program to put some of that crap behind them.
It's really very rare that I ever do this. And when we get these lists and we think about these lists, I'm one of those guys that goes first gut, go with it and stick with it. Yep. Right before we hit record, even before I talked to you, I changed my mind on what my number 3 was. It is Mississippi State now. And it's very similar, because here's the thing. I was in the stands 2 years ago, and that was one of the worst feelings I've ever had coming out of a college football game, with the collapse. Yeah. And then last year, Cadillac's first game, the emotions on the road, Auburn comes back and almost wins the game and has it right there and gets – so 2 years in a row, pain in those losses. And so Mississippi State's normally not a big opponent or a big win on Auburn's schedule. But for the hurt and the pain and the commercial with the dollar bill on the fishing line and the guy jerks it back, right? That's what that felt like the last 2 years. Get that behind you. Get the monkey off your back with that game and separate yourself from Mississippi State in the standings like you should. That's why I have that as the third biggest win.
I think that's great. I think we're on the same page for most of these. And There's no reason Auburn should ever have a multiple game losing streak against Mississippi State. It just shouldn't happen. And then they need to end that. And I think they will later this year. All right, let's go through the schedule. Let's drop our final season predictions for the Auburn Tigers. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful, and Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. They've got killer deals in the last minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped over the fun you will have. I use Game Time. Yesterday, I went over to Atlanta, took a day, went over to Atlanta, and checked out the PGA Tour Championship. I bought those tickets on the Game Time app. It was very easy to use. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, download the Game Time app and use promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Also, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Eddie's Calzones. Eddie's Calzones is located at 130 North College Street in downtown Auburn, across from the new Target. And there's nothing like Eddie's, with specialty calzones and crispy wings, sides such as loaded curly fries and tots, and of course the coldest beer in town. Game day weekend wouldn't be complete without a trip to Eddie's. I love the bacon chicken ranch calzone. It's very, very good. I'm very excited to try their wings next time I go as well. But the cool thing about Eddie's Calzones is they are open and they are delivering until 4 a.m. It's just a late night tradition in downtown Auburn. So whether you're out on the town or just studying late, Eddie's is there for you. And if you're in town tailgating, they will deliver to your tailgate or your hotel room as well. Please keep that in mind as you tailgate and come to Auburn this season. And also take advantage of their specials. Eddie's 2-for-1 calzones on Tuesdays, half-price wings on Wednesday, and beer specials Sunday through Thursday, $2 domestic, $3 imported, and craft beer from 3 to 6 p.m. You can find Eddie's on the web at eddiescalzonesauburn.com or give them a call at 334-329-5111 to keep up with their specials. Head over and search for their Instagram. Eddie's Calzones, wings, beer, and sports, open and delivering until 4 a.m. Darrell Dapprich, our guest on this Friday. You got the Game Time app downloaded. It's easy to use. Absolutely.
I just want people to know, I've had it for a while now, even before they became a sponsor. So we practice what we preach, brother.
No question about it. No question about it. All right, let's run through this schedule, give our final projections and predictions for what Auburn could do this season. I think they win against UMass. I assume you do as well.
I do. I think that's my Egyptian for that. I mean, my projection for that is that we win that game. Yes.
Yeah. At Cal, I think Auburn wins at Cal. Sounds like you do as well.
I do as well. Yep.
Sanford at home. I don't think that's worth a discussion. I think here's where we're going to start to split. At Texas A&M. I've said throughout the summer, I actually said it on yesterday's show as well, Darrell, that Texas A&M is the most important game on Auburn's schedule this year. I do not think Auburn wins in College Station. I think what they're trying, their experiment on offense, I think it's going to work. And I think just from a talent standpoint, I think their roster is better than where Auburn's is at right now. I
agree. I had them winning this game earlier in the year, and I've changed my mind. And when I look at where I have Auburn from a record standpoint, projection-wise, it really doesn't work. If Auburn beats Texas A&M, it's actually better. But I just think that, at College Station, it's going to be tough to win there. They're going to be laying in the weeds. Petrino will have that offense revitalized, and I think that Auburn loses that game.
I like Connor Wegman, too. I think he's good. I think he's very underrated. Then Auburn hosts Georgia at home. And look, this Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, I mean, that is a streak right there. So they return home. They host Georgia. I think Georgia wins that game. So I think Auburn loses that one.
I do as well.
They go to Baton Rouge. I think they lose 3 straight and lose in Baton Rouge against LSU.
And that's where it's going to be very, very crucial that the Auburn football team's leaders, the players that are absolutely identified as leaders, and the coaching staff keeps this team together and does not allow them to go off the rail in the middle of a 3-game losing streak, because the fans are going to get restless. But understand and be realistic that Auburn will go into that game 3-0, lose 3 in a row perhaps, and then have the last third of the season or last fourth of the season to get things right again.
And then Ole Miss coming to Auburn. I have Auburn losing 4 straight games. I have them dropping Ole Miss at home.
All right, so I don't know which of the two. So that I'm not trying to take – I think that Auburn loses either the Ole Miss or the Arkansas game. Not both, but they lose one of the two. And I haven't really decided yet my gut feeling as to which one they lose. But I think they either lose at home against Ole Miss or on the road at Arkansas. That would be the
I guess I technically agree with you. And I think whichever one of those wins is the biggest of the season for Auburn, if that were the case.
Gotcha.
Mississippi State, we both have Auburn beating Mississippi State the following week. At Vanderbilt, we have Auburn beating Vanderbilt. In Fayetteville, I said it would be the biggest win of the season. I've got Auburn winning in Fayetteville. New Mexico State at home, we both have Auburn beating New Mexico State. And then Alabama, of course, the Iron Bowl. I have Auburn losing that game, but you don't think it's out of the question. You said that would be Auburn's biggest win this season.
Yep, and that puts Auburn at 8-4 for me. And I've got them
at 7-5.
Yeah, I've just kind of felt really strong about 8-4 since the spring, and nothing that I have seen or felt has made me deviate to either go better or worse. Obviously, we know that like a win at Texas A&M and Auburn starting out 4-0 can change the trajectory of this season from an 8-4 to a 9-3. You win a bowl game, and now you're talking double-digit wins. So I think 8-4, and I think they finished the season on a really high note, coming down the last fourth of their season with some big wins, kind of getting some momentum as they go into the bowl game. And then I think that I feel good about any bowl game. That if Auburn's 8-4 and they go to a decent bowl game, I feel really good about any bowl game they would play in too.
So give me an official prediction. Are you having Arkansas or Ole Miss as one of the wins?
I'm going to say Ole Miss is the win.
Okay, so you've got them losing to Arkansas. So
just because it's on the road, that's it.
So of the 3 losses that we agree on, Texas A&M, Georgia, and LSU, which of those do you think is most winnable?
A&M.
Okay. I think I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with that. Because Georgia, I just don't see that happening.
No, and I think LSU is going to be pretty. I picked LSU to win the West at SEC Media Days. Another reason why I think, look, I got to put my money where my mouth is. If I picked Alabama to finish second in the West, and I still think that they could finish second in the West and be a playoff team, just the way things work out, right? The loser of the SEC championship game gets out by default, and Alabama slides in. So I think Alabama will have a very good football team. I think they'll win 10 games at least. I see them finishing in the second or first in the West. But if they finish second, they're beatable. If they finish second in the West, somebody else has gotten them during the course of the regular season for that to happen. And because of that, the whole attitude of being unconquerable goes away when you see somebody else has beaten them, and then you've got them in your backyard. It's feasible.
I get it. All right. Which individual Auburn Tigers will lead in some different stats? We're going to have kind of a quicker rapid fire segment coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Auburn Med Aesthetics. Guys, we've all been there. It's the day before, even the day of your anniversary or a birthday or some event that you need to be celebrating and you need the perfect gift. Well, the solution is you go to auburnmedaesthetics.com and you get a gift card for whether it's Botox, facials, laser treatments, and help your significant other feel incredible. Because that's really what's important here. And I mean, we get asked the question, how do I look? And your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance, they will love meeting with Dr. Nancy Herring and then her master esthetician, Circe Kelly. They've got 15 years of experience in the med spa industry. They are the best in the business. And at Auburn Med Aesthetics, you can get personalized, private, and relaxed appointments to create that perfect med spa environment. So You can certainly head over to auburnmedaesthetics.com, get the gift card. They'll love it. For the full service med spa that's serving our great community in Auburn, Opelika, and Lee County. Gift card purchases are easy. auburnmedaesthetics.com, or just stop in and see them on East Glen Avenue across from Chappie's. Remember, Auburn Med Aesthetics is perfect for last-minute gift cards. Guys, we promise that she will love it. Darrell Dapprich, our guest. We're going to now predict, as this is the last, I can't stress this enough, this is the last off-season episode of Locked On Auburn. Feels good. We made it. We made it. All right, so we're going to predict Auburn stat leaders in several key stats. And I want you guys to either hit us up in Discord or on Twitter or in the YouTube comments down below who you think will be leading in these stat categories. Because I think on some we're going to get a lot of similar answers. I think on others we'll get a nice variety. So who leads Auburn in rushing? I'm going with Jarquez Hunter. I imagine most people will, Darrell.
Yeah, I will as well. I think he's a 1,000-yard rusher. Okay. I think he's going to have a great year. So, yes, I think that's a no-brainer on that one.
Okay, this one's an interesting one. I think we can get a lot of different – you can make the case, I think, for 3, maybe 4 different players. Who leads in yards per carry? Last year, the leader in yards per carry was the backup running back, which was Jarquez Hunter. And because of that, I'm going to say Damari Austin leads in average yards per carry, average yards per touch.
That's a good one. That's a really good take. I'm going to go with Robbie Ashford.
That's a great one, too. Yeah.
I think he's going to have packages, and with the packages, it's not going to be 2-yard runs. I think he's going to have some explosive plays. Even if it's 10 a game, we're not talking about total yards. We're talking about average. And let's just say he averages 11, 12 yards every time he touches the ball running it because of the packages for him. Wow, then that's someone that will lead the team in yards per carry. So I'm going with Robbie.
Yeah, the main reason I didn't pick Robbie is because I think he's going to be used in short yardage and goal line situations, and that just nukes your yards per carry.
It's a good point.
But that was just my thought process. I could be totally wrong. Yeah, you can make the case for Jarquez, Robbie, Damari, and Brian Batty. I think Brian Batty will be a popular answer to this question as well. Who do you think leads in receiving yards? I'm going with the hot hand, and right now that's Shane Hollywood Hooks.
Yeah, I am as well, especially since it's the flavor of the week. I mean, it's just one of those things. Yeah. I probably would have had a different choice early on, probably about a month ago. If you asked me this question, I said Javaris Johnson, but I think I've changed my mind, and Hooks looks the part, and I'm buying what everyone's selling. I think that he'll be a guy that leads the team in receiving yards.
Yeah, I think we'll get a handful of different answers for that one too, because once again, you can make the argument for Jair Shorter. You can make the argument for Camden Brown. You can possibly make the argument for Rivaldo Fairweather, which I think would be an interesting one, but I wouldn't discount it at all.
Yeah.
All right, who do you think leads Auburn in receptions in 2023? I'll continue with the hot hand, who's been a fall fling since the get-go. I'll go with slot receiver Jay Fair.
All right, I'm going to go with Fairweather. Okay. I think Fairweather's going to get 50 to 55 catches this year.
Oh, my gosh.
I think he's going to get about 4 a game. Now, they may not be big chunks of yardage. They may be little 10-yard drags and little 7-yard ends. And, in the end zone at the 5-yard line, there's Fairweather catching the ball 1 yard inside the goal line and, trucking somebody or falling backwards over a small cornerback. So that's his yards per catch may not be great, but I think the total quantity of yards, our total yard quantity of catches, I could see him getting 4 catches, 5 catches a game. You project that out over 12 games, you're talking about, if he catches 4 some games, 5 another, you're talking about right there in the mid-50s, and so that would be huge.
I just think we've heard so much about, and we've heard similar things about Fairweather, so this isn't a great argument to say, Jay Fair above Rivaldo Fairweather, but we've just heard how steady he is. And I think that's what we want from this slot receiver is 3, 4, 5 catches a game, nothing crazy. You may go 5 catches for 40 yards in a game, but over the course of a season, that's probably enough. That's probably enough for him to be the leading receiver on this team. And
I would say if you've got the word fair in your name, we both agree, whether it's Fairweather or if it's Jay Fair. And I think to your point, I can see Jay Fair catching a lot of slants. 3rd and 4, bam, 6-yard slant, first down. I mean, I see that. I can envision that. And so, he may pick up a lot of catches. That's a good choice.
All right. Last one, and then we'll move to defense. Total touchdowns. We're taking passing out of this. Total touchdowns. I'm going with Jarquez Hunter.
So am I. I mean, this is a guy last year as the number 2 running back that seemed to get more touchdowns than Bigsby did. And I remember there being a problem with that and people going, why give the ball to Bigsby? But when you get in short yard situations, Hunter would put his head down. I mean, even as a freshman against LSU and some of those games, he had the big touchdowns inside the 5. We've also seen him the ability to score from the 20 or 25 and catching balls out of the backfield, little swing passes, housing those. So because of those 3 components, I think he'll lead the team in touchdowns.
All right, switching to defense, sacks. I can't imagine we get a whole lot of debate on this, but I will go with the transfer, Jalen McLeod.
Me too. I mean, he had 6 for App State last year. I think that Auburn's not going to have – I think Auburn will have kind of a sack selection by committee. I think you'll see a handful of people with sacks, but I think his total will be the highest of all the Auburn defensive players.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who else people say. Like, does somebody make an argument for Keldrick Falk, or does somebody make an argument for Steven Sings or Marcus Harris? We'll see. We'll see. And then tackles.
Or some safeties. Ron Roberts likes to bring safeties. You know, we may see something that we used to see, and that's safeties getting some sacks on blitzes and stuff. So
maybe that would certainly be surprising, but maybe. Tackles, overall tackles. I'm gonna go with Austin Keys. I think they get him back on the field, and I think he's gonna be steady. I think he's gonna get 8 to 10 tackles a game, and I think over the course of it, he'll have 100 tackles this season.
Yeah, I think that's a good get. I mean, that's a good choice, especially because that second level. I think Jason Jones, and because I think that SEC offenses are going to try to run between the tackles at Auburn and perceive that as a perceived weakness and try to go right at him. And I think Jones is going to hold the fort and make a lot of plays in the middle of the field for Auburn.
Yeah, friend of the program, Jason Jones. That'd be awesome. I would absolutely love that. Darrell Dapprich, next time we talk, it will be game day eve, my friend. We have made it. In the meantime, how can people check out everything you've got going on and give you some love?
Follow me on Twitter, DAP6410. Catch me in the Locked On Auburn Discord. And then Monday mornings and Tuesday afternoons, I'm on the Auburn Network on various shows.
Yep, absolutely. Follow me on socials at Z Blackerby. Read all of our written work at auburndaily.com. And please, 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 if you enjoy the show, click that subscribe button. We will see you on Monday. This has been Locked On Auburn.